I'm Cesar Delgado from back roads of Illinois. I am joining with Kelsey Barnes from Nesbitt, Mississippi, for a government affiliate of the Farm Journal Foundation. Welcome to the show with us for today. How are you, Kelsey?
Thanks for having me on. I'm doing great. It's an exciting time in policy as a lot of things are happening in DC around agriculture. So we've been quite busy and expect it to be another busy year in 2024. But other than being busy, I've been doing well. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Huh?
Could you give update on the farm bill for this moment?
Sure. There's not a whole lot of changing when it comes to the Farm Bill currently. That's any much different than it was a month or so ago. So we're still waiting to see what happens with the CR. That depends a lot on whether we're really able to figure out funding for a farm bill. So we're waiting on that, and we should know a little more about it. What's going to happen with the CR the first week of March. But as far as the Farm Bill goes, the Senate and the House Ag committees are in negotiation with each other right now. So the Senate, while they may seem farther apart, I don't think that they actually are. I think that Chairwoman Stabenow and Ranking Member Bozeman both know what they want and know funding options, and we're really just in talks with figuring out how we make that happen. And then I know on the House side, uh, Chairman Thompson is moving right along and his staff with writing the farm bill, and we're hoping to see some text from both sides, the House and the Senate, this spring. So a lot of it is.
How do you see impacting the farm bill for this year because of presidential election for right now?
Well, any year that there's a presidential election and any election, we'll have House elections this year as well, and a third of the Senate. Um, there's typically less legislative days in a year where there's elections. A lot of members want to be in their home district and in their state as much as possible with constituents, and that makes our timeline for getting a farm bill a little shorter. So I think uh, that'll make it a little more difficult. Also, sometimes elections can drive passing things. Rural America holds a large portion of the presidential vote, as we've seen in the last few presidential elections, just how important the rural vote is. And farmers in rural America wants a farm bill, and they want an effective farm bill. So it could mean that we're in a year where it's leveraged to get a farm bill, but it could also mean that we just run out of legislative dates to be able to accomplish a farm bill on time this year.
Now we can touch on trade. How can you explain to our listeners about trading with China for right now?
Well, President Trump had an agreement with China that ran out a little over 2 years ago now. And so China at that time, during the majority of that administration, it was a difficult relationship with China and with tariffs impacting agriculture. And then we did get a trade deal with China, which they bought more soybeans than they have ever bought within that time frame, and now it has fallen off a little bit. So that's something. Trade is incredibly important for agriculture. It's something that I know that the Undersecretary for Trade at USDA is working on. I know that the Grains Council and others are working diligently on building trade relationships elsewhere, but China is still very important to us. China actually just, as of a few days ago or within the last few days, made an extra statement that they will be doing and using as many resources as possible to grow as many grains within China as possible so that they're not as reliant on exports. So they are making that a priority within their country. China actually spends significantly more on their investments in agriculture research or at least their public investments in agriculture research and development than the US does now. And so they're diligently trying to grow as much food as they can within China, while also the United States has quite a surplus and we need more trade partners. So China is very important, but I think it's also incredibly important that we look at other trade opportunities, as we won't always be able to be reliant on China, even though it's very important, and a trade deal would be incredibly beneficial to American agriculture.
What is the impact on the beans with China for the farmers?
Yeah, it's a big impact. So soybeans are in more than 1,000 products that a lot of people don't think about, whether it's the soybean oil that is put around Goodyear tires. There's a cup of soybean oil on every Goodyear tire, or where it's put in plastics and other things. So we've done a good job in the United States of developed different products where we can use soybeans. However, we sell and export a lot of soybeans in the United States. And so China being our largest buyer, or one of our largest buyers of soybeans, it's incredibly important that we have that.
Do you have final thoughts on the Farm Bill and trade in Washington, D.C.?
Sure. I think that there's a lot of organizations who are working very hard on the Farm Bill currently. And I think the Farm Bill is incredibly important for American farmers and for rural communities at that. It's very important for our rural communities to be able to prosper, for there to be good jobs in rural areas, for the infrastructure in rural areas to be up to date. However, I think there's a number of other bills that are important. There's some big tax proposals and potential changes that could be beneficial to the farm. Like you said, trade is incredibly important. And so looking at every bill that we have and seeing it through an agriculture lens and a trade lens, I think is incredibly important. So while I agree the Farm Bill is important, there's also a number of other bills out there that I think are important to pay attention to. The appropriations process being one of those. And sometimes I think that ag associations have the habit of just going to the ag committees and advocating to the ag committees. However, I think we're learning more and more that we need to be in front of leadership in the Senate and the House, and we need to be talking to Senator Schumer and others about how important agriculture is. Last year, out of all the appropriations bills, ag being the second smallest out of all the bills, it had the largest cut. And in a time when we were in COVID and everybody was talking about how vulnerable our food system was, we never really did anything legislatively to correct that. And now we're seeing Western countries under attack and being very vulnerable, like Ukraine with its food supply chain. And I think now more than ever, we should take these instances and recognize just how critical food and agriculture are to the United States and to the globe. And so I think that we shouldn't just be talking with the agriculture committees, that we really need to make sure that we're advocating to leadership, and we're advocating that funding is there for agriculture, and that farmers in rural areas are supported and able to prosper, so that we don't have vulnerable food systems, and so that we are able to invest long term in research and in development, and we're able to continue improving our agriculture system to feed the United States and then also to be global leaders. So that's my
That's
final thought
true.
on the Farm Bill.
Thanks for coming, Kelsey. My pleasure that you joined the show for today. Thanks. You're welcome to join the show anytime.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I wanted to let you know that I have a little boy who also has cerebral palsy, and he's 4, and he just started out with his communication device. So I will definitely have to show your videos to him, and I know that it's inspiring to him. But I'm just grateful that you're in agriculture, and very grateful that you have this.
This is Kelsey Barnes from Nesbitt, Mississippi, for a government affiliate and Farm Journal Foundation. From back roads of Illinois, I am Cesar Delgado.